Hello, good day to everyone. Um, Today I am going to discuss C programming, introduction to C programming, and uh, by the way, this is my YouTube channel dashboard. Okay, just I'm just sharing my yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Little bit loading. Um, Here. Okay. Now, by the way, I am using the materials of tutorialspoint.com, okay, because I find it okay and useful. Right now, I will be sharing to you guys the overview of C programming, C as a programming language, and then eventually I'm going to discuss the program structure and uh, basic syntax or format of C programming language, and then eventually the data types and the variables. After that, then I will end this video and for you to watch and do something, right? So, by the way, what is C programming language? Why is there a need for us to study C programming? If we are to if we are to take or to enroll this IT or ComSci, because in my case, for example, I graduated Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. So why is there a need for us to start learning C programming? Why not Java? Why not C Sharp or anything? Um, for me, C programming is is a must for us. Yeah, if you want to do good in programming, start with C programming. Because if you're good at C programming, sayo na lang guys inyo pag-migrate from C programming to other programming languages. Right? Okay? And um, as we go on with our discussion, you you can understand and you can digest that really C programming is what is an art, and at the same time it is a science. So ako dyan ang i-discuss, i-digest line by line, hangtod nga masabtan nyo nga, it is really an art and a science. Okay? Now, according to tutorials, please look at the screen. Okay? C programming is what? It is a general purpose programming language. It is a high level language, right? Oh, if there is high level language, then there should be a low level programming language. Yes, there is. High level means it is a human readable program. By just looking at it, makasabot ka because the program is written in English. Though there are slight technicalities on it, but kung tanawon gid nimo, masabtan nimo ang program. That's high level language. And this was being developed by Dennis Ritchie. This is actually the founder and inventor creator of C programming. And by the way, C programming is actually the one, or Unix is created by C language. So that's how C programming language so much powerful. As in, right? And I am not going to go deep with the history of C programming languages or language. Please extend your way of doing research. Try to search the life of the founder, Dennis Ritchie, and try to dig into the history of C programming. Okay? Kay para at least namoy nindot nga background sa C programming and the appreciation of the 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 the, 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 the appreciation of C programming language uh, inyo nang ma-experience, and then learning will will eventually follow, right? Okay, so um if you want to go deep with the 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 history of C programming language, so you can do it. And naanidagan sa Google. Okay? Nasa Google. Now, there are some facts about C. Number one, C was invented to write an operating system called Unix. This is the first big project of C programming language. Nya mo na nakapasikat gitsad sa iha even until now. Okay? And the second is C is a successor of B language, which was introduced around the early 1970s. So 1970s there was this B language, and then by 1972 C was introduced. Okay? The baseline of C is the B language. Now, next, the language was formalized in 1988 by American National Standard Institute, or ANSI. When we say formalized, it was being recognized as a major programming language by year 1988. It was being accepted by the group of programmers. And then the next one is the Unix operating system was totally written in C. So look at that. That's how good is or was Mr. Dennis Ritchie. Today, okay, today C is the most widely used and popular system programming language. Okay, and most of the state-of-the-art software have been implemented using C. Actually, if you are to do research on this, what are the different softwares karon is being created by C? There are lots. Okay, I would like to challenge you guys, do research on this. Okay, dili na lang ako i-discuss diri kay it will take time. I want you to do it by your own. Okay, and look at this. Today's most popular Linux. You're all familiar with Linux operating system. It is being created by C. And the database in MySQL is being created also by C programming. So very powerful. And here, why use C? Why we need to study C programming? C was initially used for system development work, particularly the programs that make up the operating system. C was adopted as system development language because it produces code that runs nearly as fast as the code written in assembly language. Are you all familiar with assembly language? When I was in college, I learned assembly language, and grabe jud. Grabe ko kanus blade. Dili no mas by just looking at the programs, assembly language, using assembly language, dili no masabtan ako sa bot pasabot. So dili gid siya. It's a human readable program, yes. But then ang wordings niya dili mo masabtan. Okay? Now, there are some examples of programs nga gigamitan og C. Number one is operating systems. Linux, Unix, language compilers. Okay? So, by the way, C programming language is a compiler programming language. Okay? You do the encoding, and then after that, i-compile na siya into a machine-readable program. Then it will run. Assemblers, text editors. There are lots of text editors today. We have NetBeans, we have Buy, we have Vim, we have Notepad, and anything. And 50% of that are being created by C. Network drivers, print spoolers, modern programs, databases, language interpreters, utilities. Those are actually things nga gigamitan og C programming language. Okay? Now, a C program can vary from 3 lines to millions of lines, and it should be, okay, here, look at this. It should be written into one or more text files with an extension of .c. So, for you to have for your hardware or computer to identify that you're creating or that your program is a C program or is a program using C language, it should or it must be with an extension of .c. For example, if you are going to create Hello World program, the file name can be hello.c. Okay? Asa man ta mabuhat ang program? We'll be using editor. We can even use notepad. But in this particular example, adto ta sa CodeChamp magbuhat og program. Okay? So, um, I hope that you have now an idea of what is C programming language. Now, I would like to share to you the structure. Unsay porma. If you are going to create a C program, unsa bay porma? Kay doon naman there are actually we have this kind of arrangement ba para masabtan sa imong computer nga this is correct. Okay? This is correct. Now, here we are using this hello world example. Okay? This one. Look at this. Kita ninyo? Oh, this is an example of a hello world program. And a C program basically consists of the following parts. In order. Okay? Kasunod di siya. Number 1 is preprocessor commands. Take note. Number 2, functions. Number 3, variables. Number 4, statements and expressions. Number 5, comments. These are actually the structure of a C program. If you have this C program, it must be with this 5 here. Preprocessor, function, variable, statements, and comments. Now, look at this here. Look at the program here. Okay? Now, if we are to execute this program, okay, if you are to run this program, ang mugawas ini is hello world. Mo display ni sa screen ang hello world. Now, asa man dapita diri ang statements? Where is the comment in this? Asa dapita ang preprocessor, variables, and so on and so forth. Now, kini siyang first line include stdio.h. The first line, okay? The first line of the program is a preprocessor command which tells a C compiler to include stdio.h file before going to actual compilation. Meaning, this is a library. Okay? And if you are going to include this library to your program, you're good as you're trying to tell the compiler that, hey, Mr. Compiler, I'm going to use printf. Okay? Because the content of this library or header file, part of it is printf. So meaning, mailhan sa imuhang C compiler nga you're allowed to use printf statement kung gi-include nimo ang iyang library. And the library of printf is stdio.h. That is preprocessor command. So kung dili mo ibutang, obviously your program will not run. Now next line. The next line is what? This one. Int main. Okay? Int main. The next line int main is the main function where the program execution begins. Okay? This is the starting point of your program. And this is a function. By the way, masabtan na ninyo what is a function as we go on with our discussion. But for now, we'll just focus on the structure. Unsay porma, kung sa balay pa, unsay blueprint sa imuhang balay. So unsay blueprint sa C program. Okay? Now, next. This line here, okay? Look at this. The next line will be ignored by the compiler and it has been put to add additional comments in the program. So such lines are called comments in the program. Meaning, this line has nothing to do with the screen output of your program. It is just a comment. Now, what makes that line a comment? Because of this one. Okay? Slash asterisk and here asterisk slash. Meaning, if you have this slash asterisk and asterisk slash, within that symbol is a comment. And it will not affect as to the screen output of your program. So if you want to put some comments in any part of your program, make it sure that comment is in parallel with the content. Di ba? Kay that explains your programming. Kaya niya? Okay. Now here. Next line. Kini siya. Printf. What is this one? The next line, printf, is another function. Take note of the function. Ato na i-discuss in detail as we go on with our discussion. Is another function available in C which causes the message hello world to be displayed on the screen. Now, what is that screen? Kini siya nga program adto na to ni buhaton sa text editor. Notepad, for example. And in our discussion, I am trying to use Kutcha. But in actual, kung dili pa ni online, kung nagklase pa kita face to face, I would like to suggest make use of Notepad. Or we can use C++ editor. Nasa to ang laboratory. Now, if you run this program, it's been created at a particular text editor. Inigranong program, mugawas na ito sa screen. Because of this printf function, ang mugawas sa screen is this hello world. Because the function of this printf is to display whatever is the content of this double quote. This one. Are you following? Okay? So within this double quote are actually character expression nga ipa-display sa printf. So mo nang mugawa sa screen. And the next line, return 0, terminates the main function and returns the value 0. Return 0 means as stop. That's enough. Hello world is good. Paano nyo? And take note. There is this semicolon. Okay? And again, semicolon. This is part of the format of C programming. This is part of the syntax. Semicolon is actually the termination of a particular statement or line. Kung sa English pa, sa sentence pa na, period. Okay? So, because of this semicolon, you're trying to tell the compiler that this one is a single statement, C statement, and then the next one is another single statement. Okay? Now, never mind with this compile and execute the program. We'll discuss this later. And now, okay? Now here, I did some overview of C programming. I gave you the program structure. The next is we'll discuss the syntax. Okay? So, I hope it's not loading. Good. What is basic syntax in C programming? Now, you have seen, are you following the screen? Please follow. You have seen the basic structure of a C program, right? There is this preprocessor, and you have to look at the statements, right? The variables, and so on and so forth. And so it will be easy to understand other basic building blocks of the C programming language. Now, what is this tokens of C? Tokens of C are actually constants that you're not allowed to use. Okay? That you're not allowed to use. For example, here, printf is what? It's a reserved word. Now, you cannot use printf in any other purpose. You can only use printf if you want to display something within a double quote, right? Okay? So, this one, printf, look at this. Printf, hello, printf, open parenthesis, right? Then hello world, close parenthesis, semicolon. What does this mean? This one is what? This is a reserved word. You cannot use printf in any other purpose. Okay? And this open parenthesis is another token or constant. Close parenthesis is another reserved character. Double quote is again another reserved character. Semicolon is another reserved character. Meaning, those are actually part of syntax. Are you following? Okay? So, ang printf, ang semicolon, ang close and open parenthesis, ang double quote are actually basic syntax in C programming if you want to use printf. Ano nyo? Now, I did explain this already a while ago that in C program, semicolon is a statement terminator. It's a period in English. That is, each individual statement must be ended with a semicolon. It indicates that the end of one logical entity. Given below are two different statements. Look at this. Here, what makes these lines a two different statements? Because of semicolon. The first semicolon of printf tells us that this is a single line and the next line is another statement. Semicolon. Okay? So I did discuss this already. Comments. How to have comments? Here. Slash asterisk and asterisk slash. Right? What is this identifier? Identifier again is part of the syntax. Okay? Please look at my screen. A C identifier is a name used to identify a variable. Sir Jonel, unsa man ning variable? Variable is actually it's a storage area wherein you can store values. Later, I'm going to discuss what is the technicality of variable. If you're going to use this particular variable, what is this kind of variable, and what value that we can store in this particular variable. Okay? That's an identifier. Function or any other user-defined item. So, kanang mga inyo ning masabtan maayo what is identifiers as we go on with our programming subject. Okay? But for now, please limit your understanding on this. Kung magisgot ganitong identifier, it is something from the user. Dili siya syntax coming from C programming language. It is actually a term or it's a word kagikan sa tuwa nga atong gamiton sa atong program. For example, variable. So variable, if you want to store 2 to a particular variable, then mag-create a variable. It's a user defined. I consider nimo na as an identifier. Paano niyo? Now, mao ni ang guideline sa identifier. An identifier starts with a letter A to Z or small letter a. By the way, C programming language is a case sensitive, meaning your capital A is a different value to small letter A. Paano niya? So, A to Z or an underscore. So, pwede gamiton nimo ni sa imuhang identifier followed by 0 or more letters, underscores, and digits. Meaning, slash is not part of your identifier. Semicolon, comma, di na pwede gamiton mo sa imuhang identifiers. It's here. C does not allow punctuation characters such as at sign, dollar sign, and these are actually special symbols. Dili ni pwede gamiton nimo as part of your identifiers. Unsa man identifiers Junel? Ato na i-discuss karon within identifiers. C is a case sensitive. I did mention this a while ago. So imong capital letter A lahi na small letter A. Thus, manpower with capital letter M and manpower with all small letters are two different identifiers in C. Here are some examples in C programming. MOHD, mod. This can be used as identifier or variables. You can store value on this. Zara, ABC, move underscore name. This is a valid identifier because this is part. It's being mentioned here, right? A underscore 123. Again, this is a valid identifier. Nga naman, according to the guidelines, an identifier must start with character. It's here. It's either A to Z capital or A to Z small. And A underscore 123 starts with character. And followed by any combination of letters, underscore, or numbers. Right? My name 50. This is a valid identifier because it starts with a letter and followed by a combination of letters and numbers. Diba? Underscore temp. This is an invalid identifier. Why? An identifier must start with a letter. And this particular example starts with an underscore. Dili ni pwede gamiton nga identifier. Okay? G is an identifier. A23B9 is a valid identifier. Retval it is a valid identifier. Okay. I hope you have now an idea what is valid identifiers and what is an invalid identifier. I might be giving you an exams about identifiers for you to identify whether this particular identifier is a valid one and or an invalid identifiers. Alright. Okay. So what is this white space in C? White space in C. So many siya. We need to read this one line by line. We need to dito na ko explain. A line containing only white space, possibly with a comment, is known as a blank line, and the C compiler totally ignores it. For example, here. For example, int, okay, int age. In this particular line, you are trying to make use of age as your identifier or variable, and you tend to declare age as an integer identifier or variable. And semicolon is, like I said, this is part of the syntax. So at any part of your program, when you are going to use age, okay, sabto na sa C compiler as this age needs to be placed with an integer value or a numeric value. If not, your program will not run. Kuha mo? Okay, are you following? So, the question is, how about the space in between int and age? This is the white space in C. Okay? Ini-compile ni mo ana, ini-convert yung program sa imong program into a machine-readable program, ang kanang mga white space sa iya nang ipang-ignore. Are you following? Okay. So here, look at this. Fruit is equal to apples plus oranges, semicolon. Fruit, apples, and oranges are all identifiers. They are all variables. And atong gi-assume nga doon na yung mga values. For example, fruit is 0, apples is 2, orange is 3, right? And you tend to add the value of apple, which is 2, plus the value of orange, which is 3, and whatever is the result is suod mo sa fruit. These are all variables or identifiers. Now, question. By the way, semicolon is again part of the syntax. Now, the white space between fruit and equal. What is that? Do we need to have a white space, a blank space between fruit and equal? Pwede ra gyud sikito na to na. Pwede ra gyud walay space. Mudagan na gyapon yung program. I-ignore gina sa C compiler ang mga white spaces. Ang ato alang is in my case, for example, when I'm going to create programs, I must have white spaces. Nga naman para mas nindot basahon ang imuhang programs. Nindot po tanawon. Now here, the white space between apples and plus sign, i-ignore na. Pwede sa magdikit na, wala na problema, masabtan na sa imuhang C compiler. Okay? So, that's all about basic syntax. Do you have any questions or what? Then we'll have a video conference. Okay? So, I'm going to upload this video. And if you have questions on this, then we'll set schedule for video conferencing para I can explain it personally and we'll discuss online. Right? Okay. Now, let us move on to the next topic, which is data types. Am I discussing hinay lang or kusugra? Please tell me. Okay? And we'll after this video, we'll try to either slow down or paspasan pa nato. Okay? Data types. What is this data types? Data types in C refer to an extensive system used for declaring variables or functions of different types. The type of a variable determines how much space it occupies in storage and how the bit pattern stored is interpreted. By the way, what is this bit? What is this storage? I-discuss ni sa inyo computer fundamentals. Okay? But for now, let us try to imagine this like this. When you say data types, it is a variable or an identifier nga para mabutangan nimo ni og type what kind of data that this particular variable is capable of holding of. Munang mo come in ang data types. Okay? So para ganiya. Like int age. Okay? Age is a variable. It's an identifier. Int is a data type. Your int, okay, dictates that your age variable can only hold numeric values. If not, your program will not run. So, importante kayo ang data types. Now, they are arithmetic types and are further classified into integer types or floating point. So, kung mag-handle tag values which are arithmetic or numeric, duha na ka klase ang data types. Actually, daghan. Pero for now, I want you to focus on these two types. Integer and float. What is this integer? What is this float? Ang integer are actually whole number. Ang float is what? It's a real number. Value with decimal places. Okay? When you say int age, your age will hold integer value, meaning whole. I am 46, so I can store my 46 to age. If my age is 46.2, I cannot store it to an integer variable. Kung pugso na kugsod, mudawat ang integer ang imong age, but then pagawas niya ang nagbalik, that is not 46.3. That's 46. Why? The data types of my age is integer. Okay? So float is doon na extension, doon na decimal. Paano niya? Right? So I want you to focus on that two data types. Actually, there are several types. We have pointer, we have array, we have structure, we have union, we even have functions. We also have this character data type or char. Okay, so I am going to go that in depth as we go on with our discussion. But for now, mausan ni ang mga data types here, for example. Okay? Now, I want you to focus on this usa. Char. When you are going to use this data type char, meaning your variable or identifier can only hold 1 byte. That is the storage size. And the value range is this. Now, never mind the value range. Direct ako to. If you are to use character data type for a particular variable, it can only hold 1 byte. What is this 1 byte? Ako tagaan mo gamay hindi. One character is equivalent to 1 byte. One value is equivalent. For example, letter A, that is 1 byte. Now, when you have this character type or data type, that variable can only hold 1 character. Okay? Now, never mind this first. Signed. Let's go to integer. If we are to use int data type, we can only hold 2 or 4 bytes. Okay? Kuha niyo? And here, long, or this refers to, by the way, this refers to the float, no? And as we go on with our C programming, ato ra inyo ning ma-discuss tanan ning mga different data types. Okay? So we have here an examples. I'm not going to discuss this for usa kay this is for me basin ma-confuse mo ani wala pa bita magsugod sa programming. We're more on discussing the basic of C programming language. So diri lang sa ta sa data types, and then we'll get back later as we go on with our topics. Right? So that's all about data types. Now, let's move on to the last topic that I'm going to discuss today. Variables. Pag human mangundang na ta. Ikapoy na ko discuss. Okay. Variables. Di ba? Ato naman yung na-discuss ganyan. Variables. Variables is what? It's an identifier. Unya, ang variable needs to be what? Declared as is what type of data types. Kung doon na kay variable, dapat i-declare na siya kung unsang klase nga data types. And as what I've mentioned a while ago, I want you to focus first on this integer, float, and char. Kanila sa natulog ang data types. Unya lang itong uban. Okay? Kanila sa akin, bombabaw ni. Now here, look at this. A variable is nothing. Walay gamit. This is just a name given to a storage area or a container that a program can manipulate. Meaning, if you have this variable, this is nothing. Wala man himo sa program. This is just a storage area. Nga along the way, in your program, you can manipulate this. You can use this in anything. Okay? And each variable has a specific data type. So, sa atong discussion karon, there are only three data types: integer, float, and character. So, meaning, if you have this identifier or variable, pwede na to ni siya maanggaan, mabutangan tungan as whether this is an integer variable, float variable, or a character variable, which determines the size and the layout of variables memory, storage size. Right? The name of a variable can be composed of, kung akong use mo, itong guidelines, ganyan, letters, digits, or underscore. Other than that, dili pwede. You are not allowed to use special symbols like percentage, dollar sign, or at. Okay? So, you can only use character, underscore, or digits. Ang importante, pwede combine di ba ni tulo for as long as your character, your variable must start with a letter. Uppercase and lowercase are distinct because C is a case sensitive. So, lain-lain na silang value kung lowercase na or based on the basic types explained in the previous. Yeah. By the way, I did explain how many chapters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 chapters in one video. Okay? So, kung galibog ang uban, try to review the video. Go as many as you want. And please take note. Okay? When you watch this video, have your notebook beside you and take note. Take note, take note, and take note. And I would like to suggest, pag doon na mo nalibgan, bisag i-take note na ninyo, you can ask me. Chat me anytime. Basta online lang ko, I will reply. Or you can go to Google. Right? So, this is variables. Now, let's move on to variable definition C. Saan to pag-define sa variables? A variable definition, by the way, tells the compiler where and how much storage to create for the variable. A variable definition specifies a data type and contains a list of one or more variables of that data types. For example here, this is, by the way, this is the syntax. When you are going to declare a variable, mo syntax, type, this refers to data type, then your variables. Okay, here, this is the type, int, and these are your variables, I, G, and K, separated by comma, meaning I is a variable, G is another variable, and K is another variable. Okay, and what you're trying to say here in your program is you are trying to declare I as your integer variable, G as your integer variable, and K is your integer variable. At any part of your program, when you are going to create, when you're going to use I, or when you're going to use G, or when you're going to use or manipulate K, then make it sure nga nakibaw ka sa data types. Kaya ang I, G, and K at any part of your program, in this particular example, can only hold integer value. Okay? Dili siya pwede mo hold o character value. Di siya pwede mo hold o float value or real value. Now, another example. This one here. Car C, CH. Meaning, you did declare C as a character variable and you did declare CH as another variable which is also a character variable. Meaning, again and again, at any part of your program, kung gamiton mo ang C or gamiton mo ang CH, take note nga you can only use that kung masudlan lang na nimo og character value. Kuha ninyo? And a character value is a big difference to a numeric value. So kung ka nga C is equal to 1, it cannot be. Why? Because C is a character variable and 1 is a numeric value. Diba? So, whatever is your data types here, mo na magdiktar kung unsay gamiton, unsay dawaton ning CH. Okay? Now, another example. Float F and salary. Meaning you are declaring F and salary as a float value or float variable. What does that mean? Dunay decimal. Ang sweldo nako 900 pesos ang buwan. So 900,900.00 sa float. And now double D, never mind this for now. I'm going to discuss this later. Like I said, let us first focus on these three data types. As we go on with our programming subjects, ato ra nang magian ang double and any other data types. Okay? Here, I have a program. It's an example, sample program. Okay? And I would like to tell you, by just looking at this program, ning comply ni siya sa katong program structure, C program structure. Na number one, nagsugod siya og preprocessor command. Right? Include. Iyang gigamit ang stdio.h. Why? Because along the program, ninggamit man siya og printf. Okay? And return. So kining kana nga mga statements or commands, dili man na pwede mo gamiton kung dili mo i-include apilo nimo ang stdio.h nga library. So munang nagsugod siya og preprocessor command, which is this one. So this is correct. Okay? Nganong wa man ni semicolon, sir? This is not a statement. This is a command. Variable declaration. Here. By the way, kining variable declaration, okay? This is what? This is a comment. So, you can either magkabutang kag duha ka slash, comment na siya, or slash asterisk, comment asterisk slash. Pwede ra sad gyapon na siya. Now, never mind this word extern, and extern, okay? Ari lang sa ta. We tend to declare A and B as an integer variable. And second line, we tend to declare C as an integer variable. And on the third line, we declared if as a float variable. That's it. Never mind the extern first. We'll go back later. Then the next line is int main, close and open parenthesis. This is a function. By the way, a C program is a big function. Kunya usay slice na to siya into several functions. Okay? Ato niya na i-discuss unsa na function later. Ang importante karon pagkatunan nato what is a program structure. Okay? Kunya unsa nang data types, unsa nang variables, ganong na semicolon and so on and so forth. Because what I'm trying to discuss now is are actually basics of C programming. Okay? So for now, nag-declare tag A, B, C as integer variables, right? Unya, ga-declare sa tag letter F as float. Now, within our program, kindapita dire, kung gamiton gali ito ang A, B, and C, and F, kabaw na taon sa klase sila nga variable. Integer, niyang F mo float. Now, right after int main, naan siya curly bracket. Open curly bracket and close curly bracket. Unsa may pasabotan na? This is actually the boundary of your main function. So within these curly brackets are actually statements na gigamit nimo sa imuhang int main. Kuha niyo? Okay? Now here, again, I did use slash and asterisk. This is a comment. This has nothing to do with your program. This is just a comment. What I'm trying to say is, the next lines here are actually variable definition. Okay? So, mo nang didirigin niya, murag gi-declare niya ang variable extern. So, anyway, ako na explain niya. Okay? So, same. And then here, again, another comment. Look at this. Kaya niyo? Actual initialization. Meaning, the next few lines are actually the utilization of our variable declarations here. Now, here, A is equal to 10. Semicolon. Semicolon is again part of the syntax. We are trying to store 10 to A. Meaning, at any part of your program here, ang value sa A is 10. Okay, now, question. What kind of data type is A? Integer, float, character. This is what? This is an integer variable. How about 10? Integer value, float value, or character value? Integer value. So, walay mismatch. This line is correct. Second line, B is equal to 20. B is an integer variable, right? and 20 is an integer value, no problem. With semicolon, so we are storing 20 to B. Next, C is equal to A plus B. Now, E is an integer variable, B is an integer variable, C is an integer variable. Now, how about the white space between C and equal? Equal and A. The white space between A and plus and B. Never mind, i-ignore na sa C compilers. Okay? Pwede rin nag-idikit, wala na problema. Pero in my case, I used to give white space or blank space in between para mas masabta ng atoang program. Again and again, semicolon is part of the syntax. Now, we all know that there's no mismatch because these are all what? Integer variables. And they're holding integer values, right? So, A is what? How much? 20, 10. Your B is 20. So, whatever is the result of this mathematical expression, ato isod sa A, C. So, 10 plus 20, that's 30. So, C now has a value of how much? 30. Okay? 30. Okay, are you following? And followed by the next line. Printf, we all know, I did discuss that the function of printf statement, it will display whatever is the content of double quote. Okay? So, unsa may suot sa double quote? Value of C, then followed by %D. Ako niya ni i-discuss what is this %D. But for now, I want you to think of the basic of C. Okay? Unya na lang gining mga technicalities. Basta mo na ni siya. For now, I would like to tell you nga kining %D is actually a data placeholder. Sudlanan. Temporary. Dili siya container. Sudlanan sa value. Na unsa may value nga isod diri? Whatever is the value of your C. So i-display ni sa C because of printf, kailangan ni sa sud sa double quote, right? Naka-double quote man ni sila. Are you following? This one? Yeah, since this is a data placeholder, whatever is your C, adto niya ibutan din napita. So kung unsay white spaces in between colon and your %D, mo sa nakadaghan ang distansya niya sa value sa C after comma. So your C is how much? 30. So inigpadagan ani, ang magawa sa screen is value of C colon 30. Okay? Right? And here, F is equal to 70.0 divided by 3.0. Why 0.0? Because F is what? It's a float variable and it will hold values with decimal, right? Now, here, how much is 70 divided by 3? Okay? That's 23.33. So, when we are going to run this program, mugawasan ni diri because of printf, right? Mugawasan ni same with here. Value of C is 30. Pag-abot diri, value of F is musod sad siya sa data placeholder which is %f. This one is a data placeholder of an integer value. This one is a data placeholder of integer variable value also, float. And your F is 23.33. So value of F is 23.33. Return 0 means return something which is 0 to your main function in main. This is a termination of your program. What is the result of your program? Mao ni siya. Okay? Value of C is 30 because of the 10 plus 20. It doesn't have 0.00 because it's an integer variable, right? And then the next one is value of F is 23.333334. Why with decimal? Because F is a float variable. Okay? So, I'm done with my discussion. Okay? I hope you learned something today. If you have some questions, we have our chat box. Feel free to ask. Or you can send me an email message. And for me, if there's a need for us to discuss more on the basics of C programming, I'm willing to have a video conferencing with all of you guys. Okay, and I'll just announce it to our Google Classroom. Thank you so much. Be sure to take notes. I will be checking your notebooks very soon. Thank you so much. God bless us. God bless CCS Republic. God bless you.